So Black America's crowning prince may have finally lost his crown. J.D. Vance absolutely cooks Martha Raddatz on Sunday, and Tim Walz is continuing to exhibit some very low levels of testosterone that's becoming a bit concerning. All that today on the Quisha King Show. So Donald Trump is on the rise in the polls, and Kamala, I'm going to call her Camilla. So quick little tidbit behind Camilla. So if you watch the show that I do on Sundays, Cutting Through the Culture with Chad Jackson, Blanchard Robertson, Chuck Littleton, and myself, Chad Jackson, who is the creator of Uncle Tom 1 and 2, and he's working on 3. He calls her Camilla, and every time he does it, it's just really funny to me. So I'm gonna start calling her Camilla too, because why not? Because I think if you don't call her by however you pronounce her Indian name, then you are a racist. So, I mean, of course I'm gonna call her Camilla, right? Okay, so Camilla continues to struggle, and but the polls say that she's like basically tied with Trump, which is, you know, a bit, I think the Democrats should be concerned because Trump in 2016 and 2020 overperformed the polls. So you can tell the Democrats are in a full-blown panic. Now, because they are in such a panic, they reach out to the one person who has been able to galvanize all the Black people, okay? None other than the Black American crowning prince, Barack Insane Obama. Well, Obama goes to speak to Black men, and it is a complete disaster. Take a look.
Communities is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences, who's had to work harder and do more and overcome and achieves the second highest office in the land.
So, yeah, you see how him and Camilla have that same code switching thing? You know, we got to talk up to the brothers, you know, and she got the same struggles. She's down with the people. That's what he's trying to say. But Camilla grew up in Canada, if you don't know, from age 12 to I believe about 19. She went to college in Canada first, and then she went to Howard. And that is supposedly magically how she becomes Black, because you've heard the Black folks say, not me, like this is what they say. She went to Howard, she's an AKA, so she must be Black. And you know, this is kind of what they do. They have to put on their Blackness, okay? Because this is not merely an experience, it is a political covering, basically. Blackness, whiteness, it is a political stance. So they're putting on their Blackness to talk to the Black people, to pretend that they know what you've gone through, while Barack Insane Obama grew up with a Kenyan father who was non-existent in his life, and his white mom, and then he was raised by his white grandparents. And so many black men feel like you don't really have a connection to the black American experience. Neither does Kamala Harris, which I don't, the whole black white thing, what you look like, I don't care. For me, it's about the substance of the person. And in this particular case, both of these people who want to be, these black Americans have very little ties to America, to an American experience, whether you're black, white, whatever you may look like on the outside. They don't really have a fundamental tie to this land. They certainly, their ancestors certainly do not. And, but this is what the Democrats do, and this is what communists do. They want to appeal to the areas of your life that aren't going so well. But I want to point you to remember just how much Barack Obama cared about black men when he was in office. Okay, so he got 96% of the entire black vote. That's dang on near every single black person, including myself. Oh, I was drinking the Kool-Aid back then, voting for Barack Obama. Pretty much everybody voted for Barack Obama. So in exchange for that vote by black people, almost 100% of black people who voted for him, he had the worst job figures for black men, like the worst in 27 years. Barack Obama had at one point 18% of unemployment for black men. Did you see riots in the streets? Did you hear Barack Obama gathering men together and getting them in rooms and trying to figure out how do we solve this unemployment issue with black men? No, we didn't hear that. We didn't see anything, because the only time they care about black people is when something bad is happening to you at the hands of what they say from a white person. Because George Floyd, now that was something to riot about. A man with a questionable history, the whole thing being questionable, in my opinion. None of that, when black men could not find a job to feed their families, they didn't care. Did you see Barack or Camilla or any of these so-called black leaders coming out and saying, this is a problem we need to solve? In fact, when Tavis Smiley, who you don't even really hear about anymore, he was a journalist, a black journalist for back in the day, when he pointed out the unemployment rate with black men while Barack Obama was in office, he was demolished. They canceled him. I believe that is what ended his career, because we don't even hear anything about Tavis Smiley anymore. Ever since he pointed out that the crowning prince was failing the very people who got him elected. So you should always be skeptical when these so-called black leaders come knocking on your door, try to get you to get galvanized for some leader, because all of them at one point have said, Kamala and Barack have said, I'm not going to do anything specifically just for black people, and I'm not going to do that. But they will tell you to your face, oh yes, we love you, we care about you, just vote for us and worry about the rest later. But black men have been leaving the Democrats since Barack's second election. I think they got wind of how terrible he was back then. I know my husband was like, yeah, no, I voted for you in 2008, not voting for you again. And also, there are many other black men who felt the same way. They felt like he paid way more attention to the LGBTQ community, and that's just not something that typically, most black men are like, that's not an issue that they are trying to advocate for. And so they made that known. And so from 2012 to 2016 to 2020, and now here we are in 2024, black men are leaving the party, and Barack Obama has a problem with that. And so we have a lot of black men who are speaking out about his comments to black men, as if you don't vote for her, there's something wrong with you. You are a misogynist. You are, there is something wrong with you. You need to get in line, or I'm coming here to get you in line. Take a look at SOT 2.
What are your thoughts this upcoming election? What should voters, especially young men like yourself, what should they be paying attention to?
First of all, what I can tell you we're not going to be paying attention to is we're not going to be paying attention to all the fluff that Kamala wants us to focus on. I mean, the left just loves to do this feel-good narrative and try to get us to be distracted by social justice causes. We don't care about any of that. Gen Z is frustrated with the fact that we can't afford homes. We can't afford to get married. We can't afford to have children. We have a wide open border. There are almost half as many illegal immigrants in this country as the entire black population. They're essentially trying to replace our voter demographic because so many of us are moving over to the right. I'm concerned about our economy, about our debt. I'm concerned about all the wars that are going on. These are the things that men care about. Men want to be able to protect and provide for our families. But that's something that's becoming increasingly difficult, all because of the trilogy of Obama, Biden, and Harris. They're destroying our country. They are demoralizing our country. They tell us that masculinity is bad because they don't want us to be able to protect our own families. We just saw 158 Democrats voting against kicking out sex offenders that are immigrants in our country. Yeah. Why would you be against that unless you don't want to see women be protected?
I love your response to Barack Obama shaming you and other young black men like you for not voting for Kamala. What's your response?
You know, Obama wants to say that black men aren't supporting Kamala because she's a woman. No, Obama, you know that's not true. The reason we're not supporting Kamala Harris is because of her record of no success. She has done nothing that has earned the loyalty of black people. And this mindset that we're supposed to be just unwaveringly loyal to the Democratic Party is so played out, and it's really disrespectful that they try to reduce us to thinking with our skin color. We have eyes. We fought way too hard to be able to learn how to read, and you can't expect us to be uneducated enough to blindly support Kamala Harris simply because of her skin color. It is 2024. Stop demoralizing black men and stop reducing us to our melanin content.
Hello, America. I'm Vernon Jones, former county executive and former state representative from the great state of Georgia. I was just kind of thinking out loud here, especially after this past week when Barack Obama came out to lecture black men on who to vote for based on race. I was just kind of thinking out loud here. If I could ask him one question, I would say, Brother Barry, let me ask you a question. If Madam Lockup Brother Kamala Harris can choose to marry a white man, why can't black men choose to elect a white president? I'm just kind of curious. Get back with me, Bo. Let me know.
I would be curious to see if Barry returns Vernon Jones's request there. I doubt he will. But I thought that was a good question. If Kamala can marry a white guy, why can't black men vote for a white man for president? I mean, it is certainly less tying than a marriage, I would say. Now, I don't care who you marry or who you, if you be led by what is guiding you. But I do think it is funny. You don't have a problem with her marrying a white guy, but all these people who are voting, these black men who want to vote for Trump, that's a problem. Because you guys have to remember who this man really is at his core. He's a communist, okay? A socialist. Go read his works, go read his writings and stuff. Barack Obama loves a socialist, which is just communism, just an early form of communism. But don't you think that that is an interesting question? If Kamala can marry a white guy, why can't black men vote? Where is the lecture for Kamala? Where is all the galvanizing about her marrying a white man? Isn't that some form of white supremacy? That's what we're told. Like if you are nice to white people, or if you're not absolutely condemning them, aren't you like a white supremacist? Well, she married one along with AOC. I think her boyfriend is white. We got what's her face? Don Lemon. He's married, or I don't like to say married, but he's partnered with a white guy. We got Ilhan Omar, white guy. It's a bunch of them who say that all these white people are just white supremacists, but they don't mind making them their spouses. It's quite interesting. So where is the lecture for that? That's my question. I think it is very disrespectful for Barack Obama to drag his behind in front of these black men to lecture them about who they should vote for when he hasn't done anything to anything meaningful for black men, even when he was president, when he had the most powerful job in the entire world. He did nothing. He let their unemployment rate sit right where it was until black men, until the market started to open up. It wasn't because of Barack Obama that unemployment came down for black men. So I think you need to start questioning these so-called black leaders who play in your face and try to get you to vote for Democrats, because that's what it's ultimately about. It's about the power and voting for Democrats. They don't care what you look like, okay? Because they will lecture you in the moment and then they're done with you. In fact, let's just play this little clip here where we have Camilla herself talking about what she's going to do for black Americans.
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
And there you have it. Moving on. All right, let's get into our first sponsor of the day. We're talking about Birch Gold. There is a lot at stake in this upcoming election, but regardless of who is sitting in the White House, the fuse on the economy has already been lit. Even 4 years of a conservative presidency will not be enough to turn the tide on our $35 trillion national debt. And if the left wins, it's like throwing gas on a dumpster fire. You don't have too much control over the election's outcome, but what you can do right now is protect your savings by diversifying into gold with the help of Birch Gold Group. For millennia, gold has stood firm in the face of greedy governments, economic upheavals, and global strife, and it can protect you now. Birch Gold will help you convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold, tax-free and penalty-free. And it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. In the past 4 years, the buying power of the United States dollar has declined. The price of gold has increased 40%. Coincidence? Why don't you text the word KING, K-I-N-G, to 989898 and get your free info kit on gold and trust Birch Gold to protect your savings. Text KING to the number 989898 today. J.D. Vance just keeps on shining. I mean, when I saw him at the debate, I was like, okay, wow, there's some just a little presidential something there. I think he's got a tad bit of that old school politician, mixed in with a little of that Trump-like jab. And I think we saw that today, or we saw that when he was on Martha Raddatz's show on Sunday. Take a listen to this.
Understand what you're saying, that some people left behind, but he's making these statements that the mayor is flat out disputing.
Well, Martha, you just said the mayor said they were exaggerated.
Grossly exaggerated.
That means there's got to be some element of truth here. And of course, President Trump was actually in Aurora, Colorado, talking to people on the ground. And what we're hearing, of course, Martha, is that people are terrified by what has happened with some of these Venezuelan gangs.
Senator Vance, I'm going to stop you because I know exactly what happened.
Martha.
I'm going to stop you. The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border. Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs. I worry so much more about that problem than anything else here. We've got to get American communities in a safe space again. And unfortunately, when you let people in by the millions most of whom are unvetted, most of whom you don't know who they really are, you're going to have problems like this. Kamala Harris, 94 executive orders that undid Donald Trump's successful border policies. We knew this stuff would happen. They bragged about opening the border, and now we have the consequences, and we're living with it. We can do so much better, but frankly, we're not going to do better, Martha, unless Donald Trump calls this stuff out. I'm glad that he did.
Okay, let's just end that with they did not invade or take over the city, as Donald Trump said. I want to move on to
just a few apartment complexes, no big deal.
A few apartment complexes that the mayor did not seem was invading the entire city. Let's move on to women and abortion.
Unbelievable. Right in your face. Just a handful of apartment complexes. Now, what I wish JD would have pressed a little more into when you talk about an apartment complex, because it's not just one building with one family. It is a complex that could house hundreds of families. So even if it's a handful, that five, let's just say 4 or 5, could house hundreds of people who are being taken over by foreigners who are not supposed to be in this country. And the lack of care or concern that Miss Martha has is astonishing. But she doesn't have to worry, because Martha lives in a $2 million home, honey. Okay, take a look. She doesn't have to worry about her home being taken over, because she doesn't live in the places where they're sending these illegals. She lives in the lap of luxury, darling. She's not worried. So it's only a handful. What is your concern? Oh my God, you're being so dramatic. Like, the more important thing is why Donald Trump is exaggerating. It wasn't a whole city, okay? It was a handful of apartments. Let me go sip my latte. Girl, bye. Like, that is so insulting for you to sit there while you live in a $2 million home, obviously protected from these types of things. Your home isn't being ravaged by illegals. But remember what happened when they did that, when DeSantis sent them up to Martha's Vineyard? I suspect her response would be something similar. I just found that J.D. Vance did what was necessary in that moment to call out her craziness. Do you hear yourself right now? You're literally going to defend, you're literally going to pay more attention to what you call exaggerations instead of the real problem that Americans are concerned about? She doesn't care. But that's these types of people. They don't really care about you. Same with Barack Obama. Just vote for who we tell you to vote for. That's all they care about. The power, so they can accomplish their agenda. And you ain't in it. What benefits you are not in their agenda. It is literally for the elites. Okay? It's insane. These people are literally insane. And you know, it's quite astonishing how they continue to reveal just how pathetic they are, and their message is failing. But they're going to keep on trying. I guess nothing beats a failure but a trier. Okay. So moving on, we had a bit of, I did want to play this for you while we're talking about the lack of concern here with Martha, and this attention to the campaign trail, because Kamala Harris herself was out on the campaign trail, and she went and spoke to a group, the Shade Room, I believe it was. Let's play here SOT 5. I believe it is.
How do we get here? You smell good, you look good.
Oh, that's better than smelling bad. Thank you.
I know. You smell great, you look great. Do you feel great?
Kind.
It has been a whirlwind for you.
I feel good. Listen, we have 23 days as of today until the election, and I am in these streets traveling and talking with folks, and I am out here doing the work of earning then the vote so that we can get to the job of continuing to move forward. And for me, that is about pushing for an opportunity economy, which is about tapping into the ambitions and the aspirations of folks. I know.
Stop it.
The ambitions, the aspirations, the incredible work ethic that exists in our community. I know the dreams that exist, but not everyone has started out on the same base in terms of being able to realize their goals and their dreams. So my plan is to build what I call an opportunity economy, which means giving people an opportunity to actually achieve those ambitions, those goals, and those dreams.
What I make of it is that she can't think. See, I think, as I've said before, that people mistake what's going on here. They think she's not eloquent, or that she's nervous, or that she's just unused to speaking in public. But I think what we just saw was another example of how she just doesn't have anything in her head. She hasn't ever contrived a worldview. She doesn't have any ideological moorings. She's never thought about policy. The description of the economy she says she wants to build never gets beyond that.
Because they're focused on just words, just like Martha. We want to focus on the words. We don't really want to focus on the details. And that was Megyn Kelly. I love me some Megyn Kelly. You could hear you could hear her in the background of that clip where she's laughing and she's absolutely fed up as a real journalist with Kamala just going along talking about dreams and aspirations and ambitions. It's nonsense. It's just fluff. Again, with these people and their words with no substance. No substance. For me, my line, which makes me cringe, is what we must do. Every time I hear it, I just want to smack the TV. I want to smack my screen. It irritates me to know it. What we must do. Why do you keep saying that? Like, shut up. All right? Just say what you're trying to say. All right? It gets on my nerves. But what is really funny to me in that clip is the cook guy when he's like, there's nothing in her head. Okay? It ain't nothing there. She's never thought about these things. But I actually have a bit of a disagreement there. Here's my theory. Kamala knows exactly what she thinks about these issues, but she also knows that Americans don't want the communist vision that she has. And you heard her mention it in that clip with how you doing? That guy, the shade room guy? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that seems to be the persuasion of a lot of men that's for Kamala, but that's another topic for another day. But she says people aren't at the same level. So she wants to reduce everybody down to their lowest common denominator so everybody can have nothing. And then we have finally reached equality where everybody gets absolutely nothing. Because that is the only way you can have everybody being equal in their eyes. Not the equal outcomes. I'm sorry, not the equal opportunities. They want the equal outcomes. In order for you to have equal outcomes, everybody must have nothing. Because the moment someone has a little bit more than something else, we got to take that from you. Remember what Karl Marx said? From one, what is his famous quote? From one's ability to another's need, we're going to take from this one, from their ability to produce, and give it to the one who has a need. That is their plan. She said it right there in the Shade Room clip. That's what they believe. So they're going to continue to try to reduce Americans to absolutely nothing until we are wiped out. Let's move on to our second sponsor of the day. We have our lovely Gold Lush. Y'all know all of these sponsors that we talk about. We are all committed to bringing more conservative products and services to the mainstream because we want to fund and give our money to people who actually believe in the things that we believe in. And so we have Gold Lush. So I used to suffer from cystic acne, and I've been using my homemade formula for over 10 years, and it has done my skin wonders. So if you are suffering from cystic acne, hormonal acne, if you have dark spots that you need to get rid of on your face, if you need to find a better skincare system, Gold Lush actually removes the bad oil that you've produced throughout the day, and it keeps in the good oil. Unlike those other cleansing products, they actually strip your skin from of everything, and then you then overproduce oil and dirt in your skin, which is why your skin breaks out. Many people don't tell you that. And with the healthcare system all crazy, them keeping information from us, it is important that we understand the ingredients and the chemicals that are going into our body and onto our skin, which is why Gold Lush is made from all natural ingredients. It is rich in vitamin A, D, and K, which is fantastic for your skin. So you can go and get free shipping right now, and also a free 30-day money-back guarantee, so you cannot lose. You cannot lose right now. So go to godstuffbeauty.com and get you some Gold Lush. Again, there is free shipping and a free 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, that is godstuffbeauty.com. Why? Because God stuff is the best stuff. Funny thing, so we had two things that happened. Two men that are on the front stage. Elon Musk, who's a Trump supporter, and Tim Walz, who is running to be second in command to Kamala Harris. Now, they're trying to the Democrats are on this thing of bringing more men into the fold here to be a Democrat, because men are walking away because they don't want that nonsense. Let's look at what Elon Musk is doing, and then we're going to talk about what Tim Walz is trying to do.
Landing burn has been ignited. We're now down to 3 Raptor engines. We can see those chopsticks now in here.
Booster, like a current shutdown.
Megabilla has caught the booster. Super heavy booster back at the launch tower. What an incredible
Are you kidding me?
Well, I just think that is so freaking cool. Like, that's dope. That is really, really cool. It is American ingenuity, American innovation. Those booster things used to take the rocket up and then come back down and, just get lost. And they're very expensive. And so Elon was like, we can save money by capturing this booster and using it again. Brilliant. And they found a way to do it. So you see those, like they call them the chopsticks, those chopstick-like things. They clamp it, and it's. This is beyond my pay grade. I don't understand how they get that booster back right in line, and it's just fascinating. And to be in America to witness this, I think it's very cool. Very, very leading. That's a leading man, in my opinion, Elon Musk. Now, on the other hand, we got Tim Walz. Let's take a look at what he's trying to do.
Yeah, that's my theory.
And it never fits quite right.
Never fits quite right. Just not quite right. How do you give it back?
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This is a Beretta A400. I bought it when I was shooting a lot of trap, because it has a kind of their patented thing, a kickoff. So when you get old, it doesn't hurt your shoulder as much.
Something just ain't right. I mean, he kept saying it. Oh, it never fits quite right. Yeah, you and the gun don't fit quite right together. You and this whole, I'm a strong man kind of, it just don't fit quite right. Like, we see you, Tim. We know you want to put tampons in boys' bathrooms, okay? We see you. We know that you're cool with the burning, you and your wife, you know, you're just wafting in and taking in the smells of the burning tires and not protecting the people, the citizens that you are supposed to be governing. You're not doing manly stuff. It just ain't in you. It don't seem like, because every time you try to show yourself as a strong man, you bomb massively. You can't seem to tell the truth, which most strong leaders, they don't have so many problems telling the truth. They are protectors. You don't seem to be too good in that area. They know how to use weapons. You don't seem to be too good in that area too, which is probably why you lied and got caught with saying that you were, you know, carrying weapons of war and you fought in a war that you didn't actually fight in. You probably would know better how to use a shotgun. So do you see Elon and Tim? There's something more masculine about Elon Musk. He's innovating. He is out in the world doing real things. Tim Walz, just like Kamala, just like Barack, just like Martha Raddatz, is just talk. That's all they do. There's no action behind any of these people. They just know how to flap their gums. There is no actual action behind anything that they're doing. And it's just, I wanted to put it side by side for you to see what real men are doing as opposed to men who are just trying to appeal to men to get a vote. Two totally different things. And with that, let's get into Commie of the Week. So Commie of the Week this week is none other than the crowning prince, Barack Insane Obama. Barack has tried to pretend and put on this masquerade that he's not actually a communist and he's not actually appealing to socialism. But if you listen to his writings, if you look at the people that he has associated himself with over the years, he's definitely got an appeal for socialism. So take a look at this clip of him talking.
In the past, there's been a sharp division between left and right, between capitalist and communist or socialist. And especially in the Americas, that's been a big debate, right? You know, you're a capitalist Yankee dog, and you know, you're some, you know, crazy communist, you know, that's gonna take away everybody's property. And I mean, those are interesting intellectual arguments, but I think for your generation, you should be practical and just choose from what works. You don't have to worry about whether it neatly fits into socialist theory or capitalist theory. You should just decide what works. And so you have to be practical in asking yourself, how can you achieve the goals of equality and inclusion? And so you don't have to be rigid in saying it's either this or that. You can say, depending on the problem you're trying to solve, depending on the social issues that you're trying to address, what works?
So you can see that he's like, you know, we can have a little bit of socialism mixed in with a little of the market, you know, and we do have a mixed economy. Let's just keep it all the way 100. We do, in the United States of America, we have a mixed economy. We have programs that are that help the welfare of society. You know, we have you know, food stamps and Section 8 and different things like that. Yeah, we do have those programs. We didn't always start with things like that, and the reason why is because when you start to give people things, it makes them less ambitious. It makes them become more reliant on that system, which that's what Barack loves about, you know, the socialism. It's the community aspect. We're gonna come together and take from those who have produced and give to those who have the need. But there is a fundamental problem with that, Barack. The problem is that it leads to communism and it leads to force. But Barack knows this. He knows this. He has been friends, Frank Marshall Davis, I believe his name is, Bill Ayers, Jeremiah Wright. He has associated himself for decades with people who believe in a socialist, communist ideology. So for all of this and much more, Barack Insane Obama gets Commie of the Week. So you guys know I am very passionate and becoming more passionate, quite honestly, about what I'm putting in my body and what I'm putting on my body, as I mentioned earlier, Gold Lush. But what we are putting in our body is causing problems. And so to discuss how we can better help ourselves is the one and only Dr. Joel, who's going to talk to us about Sweetamine. Dr. Joel, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me on again.
Thank you. So tell us about what inspired you to create Sweetamine.
Well, I was studying the amino acid glycine. I've been studying amino acid metabolism in the context of aging for a few years, or at least I had been up to about 2007, 2008. And I decided to experiment with the one amino acid that I arrived at called glycine. It's the simplest amino acid there is. But there was some interesting research, some of it old, some of it new, which indicated to me that this was actually the secret to keeping down inflammation. And inflammation is now understood to be the root cause of almost everything that makes people sick and die these days. Well, it turns out the real discovery is that inflammation is not what medical science thinks it is. Without any kind of political conspiracy. How come? Because here's the deal. You could look up anywhere from Wikipedia to any medical textbook you like, and it will tell you that inflammation is the immune system's first response to infection or injury.
Right.
And that is a half-truth. They think it's a response to injury. What I discovered actually is that it is not a natural response to injury. The reason we always thought that, you said how come? It's because it always happens. Because almost everybody is deficient in this amino acid glycine. Because unfortunately it was misclassified as non-essential. And you know what happens when they misclassify things as non-essential, like your job. Sorry, we have a pandemic here. Your job is non-essential. Boom, it's done, right? So the word non-essential is actually toxic. It keeps people from doing any research on something. Who's going to give you money to do research on something that's non-essential, right?
Very true.
Well, but there were a few people who thought it was conditionally essential, but what's generally not known is that this is the body's main master switch. It's really the trigger lock for inflammation. The cells that actually cause the inflammation are the body's first responders. They do come around in case of infection or injury, but if there's just an injury, they just come around and clean up the mess and go back to their nice quiescent state. Just like, let's say, the police, the first responders in society, right? If there's a pileup on the freeway, they come and they sort everything out. They take the accident reports, they call the ambulances, they call the tow trucks, and then they go back to their base, but they don't start shooting up the place even though they're armed. Well, so it's the same cells, just like it's the same kind of individuals in society who do this first responder function, or the functions. It includes eliminating bad actors if there are any present. But if there's not enough glycine around, then they will start shooting up the place even when there are no bad actors. Imagine how destructive that would be if every time there were an accident on the highway, the cops came and started shooting up the place. Right. Well, guess what? That's what's happening on the inside of most everybody's body all the time. Inside your blood vessels, inside your brain, inside your joints, inside your digestive system, inside your lungs, inside all the systems of the body. And eventually, that's why most people in our society, they're fine till they're 40, and then you start getting chronic this and chronic that, from high blood pressure to joint pain, arthritis, all kinds of things. And then you sort of, if you're lucky, you'll hobble into your 80s on a whole drugstore full of prescription medications. maybe a couple artificial hips and knees thrown in, stuff like that. And why should that be? I mean, we should all just live, live to 100, and maybe just get sick at the very end or something like that. But all this chronic disease doesn't make sense.
Correct.
So why should it be so bad now, right? Than it used to be a couple of generations ago.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is mainly dietary. And that is a couple of generations ago, we ate the whole animal. Everybody's grandma made chicken soup or something like that, some way to eat the connective tissue, whether it's pig's knuckles or chicken's feet or, everything, it went into the soup. And so we were able to get the benefit out of it. It turns out they always considered that low quality protein. But the protein that's in there is the collagen, and that's where all the glycine is.
Wow.
So we tend to, and the other thing with the diet is that we eat more and more muscle meats, so you have your bacon and eggs for breakfast and your ham sandwich for lunch and a chicken or steak dinner, 7 days a week, something like that. Right. And we consume an awful lot of those muscle meats. Well, the muscle meats actually use up the glycine because they have another amino acid. That's the one I was studying at the time in 2007. That was, and up until about 2011, that was called methionine, which is a very important amino acid. It's essential, but because it's essential, your body has lots of ways of recycling it, regenerating it, reusing it. So you really don't need much. You need, half a gram, 500 milligrams maybe, like a vitamin, more like a vitamin than a bulk nutrient. But when you have too much of it, your body ends up getting rid of most of it within an hour or so after you eat. Your liver is basically getting rid of that methionine. Trouble is, it takes 2 molecules of glycine to get rid of every 1 molecule of methionine. So even though the meat eaters, omnivores, like I am and like most people are, not everybody, we eat more amino acids than anyone else because there's so much protein. It's just such a high protein diet. But because the glycine is very little, and we don't eat the other parts of the animal, we don't eat the collagen part, the bones and connective tissues, we end up having less glycine in our system. And then we throw the bones in the trash instead of the soup. Yeah, so we eat more of the stuff that gets rid of glycine, that wastes glycine, more of that protein, less of the protein that actually has the glycine in it. And you have, an explosion in the incidence of all forms of cancer, cardiovascular disease, even autism. I have made, in the literature about 5 or 6 years ago, actually, published a letter outlining and referencing the case for blaming autism, which is now greater than 1%, on glycine. Because you see, why? And you might say, well, what does that have to do with the immune system? What does that have to do with damage? What does it have to do with cellular injury? And the answer to that is that many natural developmental processes, including the development of the brain, involve tissue being formed and then dying off because it's not needed. So the brain is made kind of like like the paper doll thing. You cut out all the cells that are in between the fingers, right? They're cut out and thrown away. So there are a lot of cells in the development of the brain that are cut out and thrown away. That is, they die and they get eaten up by these first responders of the immune system, which is fine and natural. But if they start causing inflammation, that's not natural.
Right.
So there are many other things. Cancer, for example, ovarian cancer, breast cancer. Every month, the breasts have a little mini growth spurt in preparation for becoming real milk-producing organisms in the 3rd week of the menstrual cycle. And then what happens? If there's no conception, the cells just die off. No problem. Unless you're deficient in glycine. And that regression of the tissue, that dying off of a bunch of the cells, is accompanied by a low-grade inflammation. So the problem is not, see, nowadays medical science, they say, well, we really don't understand why inflammation becomes chronic. Because inflammation is part of the immune system. It's a good thing, but why does it become chronic? you know. And that's the wrong question, and it's the wrong distinction, because it doesn't matter if the inflammation is chronic or acute. What matters is that it's appropriate or inappropriate or excessive. And this is, for example, you can die very quickly from inappropriate inflammation. Millions of people did only in the last few years. From guess what? COVID, right? What makes COVID dangerous? What gives you COVID pneumonia? What turns it into pneumonia? And that's because the COVID virus can stimulate the immune system, can provoke it to produce massive inflammation in the lungs. If you're glycine deficient. Now, I didn't take the vax. Not a chance of that. I actually studied immunology as a graduate student, so I knew better even from book learning, you know.
Yeah.
But and that was just not the right way to develop a vaccine. There's some good vaccines, but that's not one of them.
I agree with you there. And it's so, what you're doing is so timely, because we are seeing more Americans be much more concerned about what we are putting into our bodies, and supplements and different things that we can use to combat, you know, all of the push of the, you know, the types of foods, the processed foods, the different synthetic drugs and things like that that do cause inflammation. You know, we see the commercials, you know, if you've taken this drug, or if you've done if you've used this product, you know, now you might need to call your lawyer. And so instead of waiting for that commercial, we can actually be more proactive by using something like Sweetamine, which is why I love what you're doing, because it is helping Americans zero in on a problem. When I'm using Sweetamine, I like to take a half a packet. I mean, I guess it makes my box last a little bit longer, because I take the half a packet and put it in my coffee. And so that's how I'm using it. But I do appreciate, you know, everything that you're doing, because this is becoming a topic that, you know, healthcare, probably because of what happened in 2020, and just, you know, as we get older, we're like, wait a minute, something's not right. Like, what they're telling me, you know, what these researchers and the experts, you know, what they're telling us, something isn't quite right here, because we are seeing more cancer, we are seeing more disease.
Yes, in your generation has more cancer than mine. That's scary. That's like, wait a minute. Now, with all the stuff we have, why should that be? You know,
right, exactly.
Yes, it's right. It doesn't make sense. You have that right. It doesn't add up. But all I would say is the good news is that it's really not what you eat that's killing you. It's what you don't eat.
There you
so
go.
All you have to do, they say, well, I eat a healthy diet. Well, I eat a wholesome diet. Well, we think so.
Right.
But it's almost every diet is deficient in glycine. And if you need about 10 grams a day of glycine in round figures, just for general nutrition and maintenance of good health. And most diets will give you 2 or 3. So Sweetamine gives you the extra 8. If you take half of it, it gives you an extra 4, which is quite a bit. So, I mean, 8 grams is, you know, it's kind of a one size fits all. Some people say they need 2 packets a day. And it may be, you know, if inflammation's been ravaging your body for decades now, you know, it takes a while to clear it out. But your body will clear it out. But that's the real discovery here is about the immune system. And when I did that, I formulated Sweetamine as a way to make this available to people, because I've been in academic research all my professional life. And when you discover something like that, what happens? Well, you publish a paper, you meet with resistance, and everybody calls you a quack and tries to beat you up and destroy you. And you know, and then maybe 20 or 30 years later, you know, it says on your gravestone, he discovered something important.
Right.
You know? But so I wanted.
Right now, you're a conspiracy theorist, but soon, and you know, it's becoming quicker now. You know, information is traveling faster. So right now, you're a conspiracy theorist, but in a couple of weeks, you'll be like, you know, a genius, and then everybody will be singing your praises.
Well, you know, thank you very much. But it's either true or it isn't. I'm either a quack or I'm not. And the good thing is that if Sweetamine is as harmless as anything gets, you know, you can't eat enough to poison yourself with it, because it's a natural substance that your body makes and needs in bulk. It just needs more. And it needs very high concentrations of it. And so you can't hurt yourself with it. And as far as selling Sweetamine is concerned, I sell an introductory 12-day challenge. And believe me, if you're feeling inflammation, you will feel the effects of Sweetamine in a lot less than 12 days. And it gives you a chance to play with it, experiment with it. And that's $19.95. But your listeners, just by entering the promo code KING, get $5 off of that. So it's $14.95. And if you don't like it for any reason at all, just tell us and we'll give you your money back. You don't have to send back any empty boxes or anything like that. Because we just want everybody to try it.
Yeah.
And it's a sweetener. Yeah, it's a sweetener because I couldn't formulate it as a pill or anything because you'd need an awful lot of pills to get 8 grams a day in you. So that's 8,000 milligrams. That's a lot of pills, not practical. But it has a naturally sweet taste with an unpleasant aftertaste. So with a little bit of tweaking the taste, we get a very good tasting sweetener. And because it's a sweetener, you can get the whole 8 grams in 1 cup of coffee very easily.
There you go.
And it's easy to take. So it's easy to take, and it's it's no risk for your health, no risk for your wallet, no risk at all.
Yeah.
Just give it a try. Sweetamine.com. That's it.
Yes, everybody. So go to sweetamine.com to start your 12-day challenge, and that's $19.95. Plus, if you use code KING, K-I-N-G, you will get an additional $5 off. So again, that is sweetamine.com. And we want to thank you, Dr. Joel, for joining us today and helping us get our bodies together because Lord knows we need it. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're quite welcome. Thank you.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you share this video, like this video, and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. I will see you next week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.